وصل صوتك.
لكن تكون حاضر كلنتون اللي بشرق الخطاب في اطار الحمله الانتخابيه لهيلاري كلنتون مرشحه الحزب الديمقراطي. قاعدين نشوفوا تويكا فما تنشيد وانيماسيون قبل انطلاق الخطاب لكلنتون.
To save Social Security, to vote for affordable health care, to vote for better jobs and better wages, to vote for a strong national defense. And when you vote for those things, you will support this candidate and you will support this party. And we'll have an opportunity to do what this man I'm going to bring out right now did for us. You know what? I think back on those years, and here's what I remember. By the way, the first thing I'll say this, I was with Chelsea Clinton last night. And the best thing I can say about this man, I'm going to say some more, but the best thing I can say about him, he was an excellent father. Still is. She's a fine young woman. She's a fine young woman. When this man was President of the United States, with Hillary by his side, unemployment was at an all-time low. We had more jobs, higher wages. Unemployment was down, right? Poverty was down, right? Warm Hoosier welcome for my friend, your friend, the President of the United States, William Jefferson Clinton.
Well, hello. Thank you. And I want to thank, first, thank you, Fort Wayne, for making me feel welcome. I want to thank my longtime friends, Governor Senator Evan Bayh and Senator Joe Donnelly, for their service to you and for their support for Hillary and for the arguments they made. I want to thank Mayor Tom Henry for welcoming me here. Representative Phil Giaquinta, who told me he was going to canvass for Hillary. And Councilwoman Sharon Tucker, thank you. And I want to thank the program director of the community center here, Alicia O'Neill. Let's give her a big hand for it. So, I don't quite know everything you're going to do between now and Tuesday. Yeah, well, we've got to do that, but, you know, we need to win here. She loves Indiana. When we had more time 8 years ago between states, I made 31 stops in Indiana. And I stayed here so long, I practically owed taxes by the time I left. But I was thinking about all the strategies you could have, and I tried to go everywhere. And so I got a little note before I came here that said, Mayor Tom Henry is the only Democrat ever elected 3 times. And I said, well, how'd you do that? He said, well, first of all, it had nothing to do with the fact that I came from a family of 17 children. And that my mother has 80 grandchildren and 60 great-grandchildren. That's 147. I'm sure my family connections had nothing to do with it. So I asked him how much it would cost me to make sure everybody in his family who's eligible to vote voted for Hillary. on Tuesday, because it sounds to me like we'd be halfway home if we could do that. And if they were released and could enter the workforce, they could help us grow together. So she was also, as nearly as I can determine, the first person who said, I'll make this a priority. There are too many people who are wasting their productivity, costing you something like $85,000 or $90,000 a year as taxpayers. You can send them to any college in Indiana for a fraction of that. And if they are nonviolent offenders at low risk of repeating, we should consider letting them out early so they don't waste their lives. But you don't want them to come back, so they have to have education, training, job placement, and no discrimination in applying for jobs because of this, so we can all rise together. Big deal. The other thing I would say is we were always in the top 10 countries in the world in participation of women in the workforce, and we're not anymore. And that's one reason wages haven't risen, because we got our jobs back in 7 years, which is quick by historical standards, but we haven't gotten the wages up. And part of it is we need to get more women back in the workforce, but we are one of only 7 nations, 7 on the face of the earth, that don't give families any paid leave time to deal with problems with their parents or their children or their spouses. And she wants to do that. And if you had that, and affordable child care and equal pay, then you'd have an economy where we could all rise together. So the first thing is, I think you ought to vote for her because you got the best comprehensive plan to create jobs, raise wages, reduce inequality, and remove barriers to all rising together, including a plan for debt-free college and a plan to let people manage this enormous college debt that's been built up by converting the debt, no matter how much they owe, into a home mortgage-like instrument and being able to pay it out over 20 years, never more than 10% of their after-tax income, and first, let everybody refinance it. It's crazy that a college debt is the only debt in America you cannot refinance. I do think, by the way, we need more. You didn't have as much loss when I was there because I enforced those things 80% more than President Bush did. But I do think, I do think these trade deals, one of the things we've learned that the auto workers learned in the Korean trade deal is that you can't make a trade deal unless it includes people who don't keep the deal or manipulate the currency. You've got to do that. On the other hand, Indiana is exporting cars to China. That very few people are doing that. So you got to have some kind of a rules of the road that are fair to everybody if you want to keep those jobs too. But here's what happened in the Carrier case, in my opinion. I talked to Senator Donnelly, who's done a lot of work for you on this, and you should be proud of it. They announced, according to this article, interviewing people in the board meeting, that their shareholders, which really means they're big, rich, activist shareholders, were disappointed that they didn't have a high enough stock price. And because of that, the president wasn't going to give his whole bonus. He made several $1 million last year. Now keep in mind, Carrier made $2.9 billion, okay? They say they're going to save $65 million by moving this operation to Mexico. Where they have been, sir, since 1969, 24 years before NAFTA took effect. But anyway, here's the problem. Maybe they will because labor's so cheap. But they were making $2.9 billion. $65 million is a tiny fraction of their profit. The union offered to negotiate with them savings that would equal that or get very close to it. Hillary wants to give companies a 15% tax break if they share profits with their employees fairly. That means they come out ahead if they did that. And this is the main problem today, more than the big banks. The big banks now can't break Main Street again. because of the Dodd-Frank bill the president signed. And that's why Hillary won New York so big, because they know there are 50 or 60,000 fewer people on Wall Street today than they were the day of the crash. New York's growing with old-fashioned jobs now. New businesses, new entrepreneurs, young high-tech people, manufacturing jobs coming back to New York. So, this is the last point that both Evan and Joe reminded me I forgot to mention at the last stop. The trick for a president, if you want to break the logjam, is knowing when to stand your ground and when to keep the door open for common ground. The most important stand your ground issue we're facing today is the appointment of a new justice of the Supreme Court.